All right, road warriors. Welcome back to Trucking with MBR. I'm Marcellus, and on this video, we're strapping in for a deep dive into something that's been shaking up our industry since late last year and really hit its stride in 2026. We're going to talk about President Trump's big shift in trucking regulations. Now, whether you voted for him or not, what's happening from Washington, D.C. is having a very real, tangible impact on how we operate, how we make money, and even how we plan our routes. We're talking about changes that are rolling back decades of precedent, introducing new flexibilities, and in some cases, throwing up new roadblocks. This isn't just political talk, this is our livelihood. So grab your coffee, your energy drinks, or your tea and settle in because we're going to break down the key pillars of the big shift. We're going to look at what's really changing on the ground and discuss what it means for every single one of us in the cab. Let's start with the why. When President Trump took office again, and specifically when Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy stepped into that role, the rhetoric was clear. They wanted to move away from what they called one size fits all bureaucratic mandates that they believe stifle growth and disproportionately burdened small businesses and independent owner operators. The phrase you hear constantly from this administration is common sense regulation. And for us in trucking, they framed this as a pro trucker package. So, what does that mean in practice? It means an emphasis on what they believe is driver autonomy, economic freedom, and reducing perceived overreach from federal agencies like the FMCSA. Think about it. For years, many of us have felt like we've been regulated by people who've never spent a day in the truck, never understood the realities of hours on the road, traffic, loading docks, and a simple need to find a safe place to pull over. This administration is tapping into that sentiment, promising to listen more to the industry and less to what they call out of touch lobbyists and unelected bureaucrats. They argue that giving drivers more flexibility, removing what they deem unnecessary requirements, and streamlining processes will not only make our job easier, but also safer by reducing stress and allowing us to make better real time decisions. Now, whether that actually plays out that way is, of course, the big question. And we'll explore that as we go. But understanding this foundational philosophy is key to understanding the changes themselves. Perhaps the most talked about and potentially game changing aspect of this big shift revolves around hours of service, or as we call it, HOS. For decades, HOS rules have been a constant source of frustration, debate, and sometimes outright confusion. The Trump administration believes the previous rules were too rigid, forcing drivers into unsafe situations or making them wait unnecessarily, leading to lost income. In early 2026, the FMCSA, under the direction of Secretary Duffy, officially launched two major pilot programs. These aren't just discussions, these are real world tests designed to gather data and potentially reshape how we log our time. First up is the split duty period. This is a concept that many drivers have been advocating for a long time. Right now, your 14-hour on duty clock is generally a continuous block. If you start at 7 a.m., you need to be done by 9 p.m. with your mandatory breaks. But what if you hit unexpected traffic? What if you arrive at the shipper only to sit for 3 hours waiting for a dock? Under the old rules, that time still ticks away at your 14-hour clock, often forcing you to lose drive time or even park early. The new split duty period pilot program allows you to pause your 14-hour clock for 30 minutes to up to 3 hours. Think about that. If you get to a facility and see a 3 hour wait, you could theoretically pause your 14-hour clock, go take a nap, get some food, even run a quick errand if you're close to something, and then resume your clock from where you left off. The goal here is to reduce the pressure to rush, to allow for unexpected delays without penalties, and to give drivers more control over their rest and work periods within a single day. It sounds great on paper, but the pilot program is specifically looking at how this impacts fatigue, safety, and operational efficiency. How will this be logged on EOD? What are the implications for dispatch? These are the questions being answered right now. This is a significant move, acknowledging that a workday isn't always a linear, uninterrupted stretch. The second HOS pilot program dives deeper into sleeper berth flexibility. For years, we've been largely confined to the 8-2 or 7-3 split options for our 10-hour off-duty period. While those have offered some flexibility, they often don't align with the realities of traffic patterns, receiver hours, or a driver's natural sleep cycle. This new pilot program is testing even more aggressive split options, specifically 6-4 and 5-5. Let's talk about the 6-4 split. Imagine you need to get some solid sleep, but you also need to make a delivery in the morning that requires you to be on the road for a few hours late at night. You could take a 6-hour nap, then drive for a few hours, then finish your remaining 4 hours of off duty time later in that day. Now, let's talk about the 5-5 split. This is even more radical. It suggests splitting your 10 hours of off duty time into two equal 5-hour blocks. This can be incredibly useful for drivers who prefer shorter, more frequent rest periods or who need to navigate very specific delivery windows that don't fit neatly into an 8-2 split. The argument from the administration is that these options cater to the diverse needs and biological rhythms of drivers. Not everyone operates best on an 8-hour consecutive sleep schedule. Some thrive on polyphasic sleep patterns by offering more choices. The FMCSA hopes to reduce fatigue-related incidents and improve driver well-being. Of course, the skeptics worry this could lead to less overall rest if not managed properly. The data from these pilot programs will be crucial in determining if these become permanent options. For now, it's a big step towards trusting drivers to manage their own rest time more effectively. Moving beyond HOS, President Trump used his State of the Union address in February 2026 to highlight a legislative push that has significant implications for who can operate a commercial vehicle in the United States. He called for the passage of what he termed Dalilah's law. This proposed law has two main components, both stemming from the administration's stance on immigration and national security. The administration's argument here is multifaceted. They cite national security concerns, arguing that a CDL grants access to critical infrastructure and potentially sensitive cargo, and therefore, every CDL holder must be fully vetted and legally present in the country. They also point to public safety, asserting that proper legal status is a prerequisite for comprehensive background checks and accountability. For the trucking industry, this has a mixed impact. On one hand, some in the industry believe it creates a more secure and standardized workforce. On the other hand, the industry has faced a persistent driver shortage, so they say, and it's a complex issue with strong opinions on both sides. The second, and perhaps more directly impactful component of Dalilah's law for current and future drivers is the mandate that all CDL tests must be administered solely in English. The president specifically highlighted this point in his address, emphasizing the importance of clear communication and immediate comprehension of road signs, traffic laws, and emergency instructions. Currently, some states offer CDL knowledge tests in other languages, primarily Spanish. The administration argues that this practice creates a safety risk. They state that regardless of where a driver received their training, once they are on the road, all official signage, communication from law enforcement, and critical safety information will be in English. Therefore, they argue the ability to understand and react instantaneously in English is non-negotiable for public safety. For drivers who are proficient in English, this changes nothing. But for aspiring drivers, particularly those from non-English speaking backgrounds, this would add a significant hurdle. it will require a higher level of English proficiency before they can even attempt the CDL test, potentially increasing the time and resources needed to become a licensed commercial driver. This move aligns with the administration's broader America First and national identity policy, but its practical impact on workforce diversity and recruitment within trucking is a subject of ongoing debate. Beyond the headline grabbing changes, another significant action taken by the Trump administration early in its term was the implementation of a regulatory freeze. This might not sound as dramatic as HOS changes or new laws, but its impact is profound because it touches on the pace and direction of the future regulations. Upon taking office, the administration effectively hit the pause button on many rules that were either pending finalization or still in proposal stage from the previous administration. The stated purpose: to conduct a thorough review of all existing and proposed regulations to ensure they align with the new administration's philosophy of reducing regulatory burden. The core argument for the freeze is that federal regulations, while often well-intentioned, can accumulate over time and create an overwhelming compliance burden, especially for small businesses and independent owner-operators who don't have large legal departments. Each new rule, that they argue, adds cost, paperwork, and potential penalties, which can stifle growth, innovation, and ultimately job creation. The administration believes that many regulations are unnecessary, duplicative, or simply ineffective. The freeze allows them to go back to the drawing board, repeal some rules, modify others, and ensure that the new regulations are absolutely essential and developed with a clear understanding of their economic impact on industries like ours. So, what does this mean for us? For now, it means a period of relative calm or perhaps uncertainty, depending on how you look at it. Don't expect a flood of brand new complex regulations to come down the pipeline in the immediate future. The focus is on reviewing, not rapidly expanding. This could be a relief for carriers tired of constantly adapting to new mandates. Some existing rules that were put in place over the last few years might be revisited. While specific targets haven't been fully announced, areas like environmental regulations for engines, specific safety technology mandates, or even certain aspects of ELD enforcement could potentially be under review for modification or repeal. The downside is that this freeze can create a degree of uncertainty for long-term business planning. If you're investing in new equipment or developing new compliance strategies, there's always a question of whether a rule might change in a year or two. This can make it harder to make confident long-term decisions. Ultimately, the regulatory freeze reflects a fundamental shift in how the government interacts with the industry. It's moving from a philosophy of regulate to improve to deregulate to empower. The success of this approach will be judged by the impact on safety, efficiency, and the economic health of the trucking industry. While the big shift from the top is about philosophy and major policy changes, there are also some specific FMCSA rules that have either just taken effect or are coming online in 2026. Now, these are the details that affect your daily operations, your paperwork, and your compliance checks. This is a big one for paperwork and identification. For years, we've juggled both a USDOT number and an MC number. The FMCSA has officially consolidated this. As of late 2025, they stopped issuing new MC numbers. The move is towards using the USDOT number as the sole identifier for carriers, brokers, and freight forwarders. The goal is to reduce streamline enforcement, reduce confusion, and primarily to combat fraud. Many fraudulent operations have leveraged the dual numbering system to create shell companies or hide their identities. By having one universal identifier that's easier to track and verify, the FMCSA hopes to clean up the industry. So, what does this mean for you? Existing MC numbers are still valid for now, but the emphasis is on the USDOT number. When you're dealing with brokers, shippers, or even law enforcement, expect the USDOT number to be the primary reference. New entrants will only receive a USDOT number. Also, update your records. Ensure your internal systems, insurance, and all operational documents feature your USDOT number. You'll want to be ahead of the curve here. Now, this might seem like a small administrative change, but it's a foundational one that impacts how the entire industry identifies and tracks its players. So here's how it works. When you visit a certified medical examiner for your DOT physical, they are now required to upload your results directly to the FMCSA's National Registry System by the next business day. This data then links to your commercial driver's license information system record. No more carrying the paper card as your primary proof. While it's always good practice to have some documentation, your status will be verifiable electronically. Carriers will verify your medical status directly through your motor vehicle records, your MVR, or by checking the National Registry. So the benefits are clear: reduced paperwork, faster updates, and a more accurate national database of medically qualified drivers. This should also help prevent drivers from falling out of compliance due to lost cards or missed submission deadlines. It's a move towards a truly paperless, real-time system, which is long overdue. Now, the ELD mandate was a huge change, and it continues to evolve. In February 2026, the FMCSA took a significant step by removing 9 specific devices from its list of registered ELDs because they failed to meet the required technical specifications. This is a critical update for every driver and carrier. If you are currently using one of these now unregistered devices, you are no longer in compliance with the ELD mandate. You have a limited window to switch to a compliant device. The FMCSA usually provides a grace period, often 60 days, during which you won't be cited, but you must transition. After the grace period, using an unregistered ELD will result in violations, potential out of service orders, and fines. This cleaning process is a reminder that simply having an ELD isn't enough. It must be a compliant ELD listed on the FMCSA's official registry. It's crucial to regularly check the FMCSA website for the most up-to-date list of registered devices, especially if you're considering switching providers or your current device seems to be having issues. This move is about tightening the enforcement of the ELD mandate and ensuring data integrity. This is a small but welcome change for many drivers, reflecting the common sense approach that President Trump mentioned. The FMCSA has finalized a new rule that removes some outdated equipment requirements. Also, you are no longer required to carry spare fuses for lights and other safety equipment. Modern trucks have advanced circuit breakers and diagnostic systems that make this requirement largely obsolete. Also, the mandate to carry liquid burning flares has been removed. These are dangerous, messy, and largely replaced by superior technology. The rule now implicitly encourages, but does not explicitly require, the use of safer, more visible LED flares or reflective triangles. Many of us already use LED flares, so this just formalized what's already practical. A license plate lamp on the rear of the tractor is no longer required to be functional while you are towing the trailer. The logic here is that the trailer's license plate lamp is the one that matters for identification while connected. This saves you from potential violations for a non-essential light when pulling a full load. These changes might seem minor individually, but collectively, they represent a small reduction in the myriad of checks and requirements that drivers have to contend with, allowing for a bit more focus on what truly matters for safety and operation. Beyond regulations, it's impossible to talk about the big shift without touching on the economic policies of the Trump administration, specifically their approach to tariffs. While not a direct trucking regulation, tariffs have a very real bottom line impact on our industry. The administration has maintained and in some cases expanded its use of tariffs as a trade tool. Currently, there is a 15% surcharge on many imported goods, and this includes a wide range of products that are critical to the trucking industry. Think about your equipment. Many truck components, tires, parts, and even entire truck assemblies, especially from international manufacturers, are subject to these tariffs. Now, if you're looking to buy a new rig, especially one with significant imported parts or from a foreign brand, you're likely seeing higher sticker prices. And the cost of spare parts, from engine components to body panels, can also be impacted, leading to high maintenance costs and potentially longer downtime if parts are harder to source or more expensive. And certain types of trailers, depending on their origin and components, can also see tariff-induced price increases. Tariffs don't just affect our purchasing power, they ripple through the entire supply chain. When imported goods cost more for retailers, those costs are often passed on to consumers. This can impact overall consumer demand for goods, which in turn affects the volume of freight available. Now, some companies might shift their manufacturing or sourcing to avoid tariffs, which can change freight lanes and volumes. For owner operators and small carriers heavily relying on the spot market, tariffs can contribute to volatility. If certain types of imports slow down, it can reduce available loads in specific lanes. Conversely, if domestic production increases in response, many new opportunities might emerge. While the administration argues tariffs protect domestic industries and jobs, for the trucking industry, it means a more expensive operating environment. Fuel, insurance, and now potentially equipment and parts are all subject to market forces and policy decisions, making accurate financial planning more critical than ever. It's an added layer of complexity to an already challenging economic landscape. So, what does all of this mean for you as an owner operator or for any trucking business trying to stay profitable and compliant in 2026 and beyond? The biggest takeaway is that adaptability is no longer a suggestion, it's a requirement. The regulatory landscape is shifting under our tires. We've seen a move from rigid mandates to more flexible, driver centric approaches, but also new restrictions in other areas. You need to stay informed. Regularly check the FMCSA website, industry news, and trusted sources like my channel, Trucker with MBR. Could the new pilot programs, if they become permanent, benefit you or your drivers or your dispatch strategy? And are your ELDs compliant? Is your paperwork up to date with the USDOT number? With rising equipment costs due to tariffs and the general economic pressures, efficiency and meticulous cost management are paramount. And when we talk about fuel efficiency, you need to be doubling down on fuel saving practices. And maintenance scheduling, you should be practicing proactive maintenance to avoid costly breakdowns, especially with potentially higher parts costs. And when we talk about rate negotiations, you need to be understanding your true operating costs and negotiating rates that reflect the current economic reality. Don't leave any money on the table. So, whether you agree with all these changes or not, remember that our industry has a powerful voice. The pro trucker narrative from the administration is a direct result of advocacy from groups and individuals. There's also associations out there that you could join, organizations like the OOIDA, or state trucking associations are constantly lobbying on our behalf. And if you ever want to provide some feedback, you need to participate in official FMCSA feedback periods for proposed rules. Your experience on the road is invaluable data. This big shift isn't just a momentary blip, it represents a significant ideological and practical change in how the federal government interacts with the trucking industry. From greater HOS flexibility to new identification systems, and from English-only CDL tests to the ongoing impact of tariffs, every aspect of our work is being touched. I know this is a lot to take in, and we've only scratched the surface here. Understanding these changes isn't just about avoiding fines, it's about optimizing your operations, protecting your bottom line, and making smarter decisions on the road. So, what are your thoughts on the big shift? Have these changes impact your routes or your business already? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear your experience. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss my next upload. And if you own a box truck or thinking about starting a box truck business, you need to check out my Final Mile Contract Plug Pack. The key word I just said was contract, so you don't have to compete against other drivers or fight with brokers over cheap loads. Now, inside the plug pack, I give you a list of 25 companies that are looking to partner with owner operators and offer guaranteed work. Now, these are industry giants in the final mile lane. I also give you cold outreach scripts for phone, email, and text message templates so you know exactly what to say when you contact dispatch or recruiting so you can sound like a professional business, not just another driver asking for work. You also get a compliance and insurance checklist to make sure your business is set up the right way before you apply. And then I also give you a SOP template. This allows you to run your operations like a business and not a hustle. And while you're still here, check out the video below where I talk about the Wild West of trucking. On this video, I'm talking about ticket spreading, the difference between a chauffeur's license and a CDL, the grandfather clause, and why the 1992 deadline professionalized the trucking business. So until next time, stay safe out there, keep those wheels turning, and I'll see you on the next video.